What's up, guys? I want to welcome you to the second episode of the Live Younger Longer podcast. My name is Jason Harris. I'm super excited to be joining this community that we're creating, right? That's what I really want to create. I want to create a community of people that want to live younger longer, that want to age good, right? Like we never want to age badly. I have yet to meet one person in my 49 years on this earth that says, you know what? I want to get really ugly as I get old. Or I want my health to just go down as I get old, right? Like everybody I meet is interested in living younger longer, but we have to find those ways to do it. And that's why today we're going to talk about the four pillars of what I believe are hyper essential as we all strive to age younger longer, right? To live younger longer. Really, it starts with the physical, right? The physical longevity that we have. We're going to talk a little bit about the emotional or the mental longevity. We're also going to go into the financial and aesthetic longevity because again, I'm 49 years old. I believe I'm in the best shape of my life at 49. And as I talked in the first episode, we kind of are having this widening of a gap between our lifespan, right? We are living longer, but the youth span, the span is getting smaller, right? Like, or that gap is actually widening. It's actually getting bigger. So yes, we are living longer, but how are we living longer? And I don't know about you, but I don't want to age badly. I've yet to meet anyone on this earth, right, that has ever told me, I want to get really ugly as I get old, or I want to get to a point where my health just declines as I get older, where basically we're kind of stuck in a chair, existing through life and not really living life. And so we want to get to this point where again, I believe we should strive, if we want to start out talking about, again, the physical longevity that we're going through. I believe we want to get to this point to where I think the physical part is one of the foundational parts of it because, as we age, we definitely have a choice on how we age, right? And we all have control. I love the part of having control over my physical longevity because barring any cancers, diseases, something that comes out of nowhere, I can take 100% personal responsibility, right, over my physical health. Because then it comes down to choices. And I love being in control like that. I love being able to have control of what I'm putting in my body, whether it's on a supplemental side, a nutritional side, like the foods, the choices that I want to make, because now I have control. If you think about something like type 2 diabetes, it is a completely diet-based disease. People can get off it. It's not a life sentence to where if someone gets diagnosed as pre-diabetic or diabetic, that they're actually going to go down that road. Or again, my second thing I'll be talking about today is on the mental and emotional side, but it's kind of dubbed that Alzheimer's is a type 3 diabetes. What does that mean? It means that it's not inevitable. Like we can do things as we age to help us get to a point to where we are physically and mentally strong as we get old. We have all of our cognition. We have our physical ability to actually get out and enjoy life and experience life versus so many people. It's sad that yes, they're living, but they're existing through life. They're not really living life. And so, I wanted to kind of get to a point. I made a couple notes here because I wanted to make sure I hit everything I wanted to talk about. But first of all, without a healthy body, right, it's hard to thrive mentally. The nutrition and everything that we put in our body, it affects everything. They call our gut the second brain. And if our body's not getting the nutrition it needs, it's not going to function like it should. And I am a very simple thinker on certain things. I believe that if you feed your body what it needs, it will perform like it should. Sadly, in today's world, the way they manipulate, manufacture our foods or genetically modifying our foods, we get to this point to where, we're not getting the nutrients because they're just raping all the good nutrition out of the food, right? They're just mass producing everything, or they're putting a lot of added preservatives or chemicals and all this garbage in our food. So we get to a point to where what we're consuming, right, is going to affect our longevity. So habits that drive cellular health, consistent movement, right? Strength and cardio. I'm a big proponent on strength training and not just cardio training. Now, I have been a CrossFit coach for the last 10 years. I hyper enjoy that because of the fact that I can get to a point to where I am getting cardiovascular training, kind of high interval, intense training, but I'm also lifting weights. I'm also putting a physical demand on my body. So I don't lose muscle mass as I get older. I actually gain muscle mass as I get older. That's hyper important because if you think about one of the biggest fears of elderly people, it's falling. Why is that a big fear? It's because they know their muscle mass is going away. They know we lose a percentage of muscle mass each and every year. And so we get to this point to where, you know, they don't have the stability. Or have you ever seen an old man, right? They almost look like a golf tee because they have these broad shoulders, no legs, they get unstable, they fall, break a hip, and then the end could happen. And so, having good resistance training to where as we age, we're actually building lean muscle. So we have a stable frame underneath us so that we don't have to worry about some of these fears, but we're still active. We're still able to go on walks with our wives, right? Or me and my wife, we love traveling. We were in Whistler, Canada not too long ago. And I love the fact that even though we're almost 50 years old, we could pick any trail we wanted. I actually picked one that was on the really hard levels. I didn't look at the levels of intensity. But, we're from Texas. We live literally on the coast of Texas. And so we're basically at sea level. So we were already at elevation in Whistler. And then we ended up climbing Mount Whistler to where we gained over 3,500 feet in elevation during the hike. But yet we were able to do it. We didn't have to prepare for it because we live a lifestyle that we're preparing for it all the time so that we can be active. And when we go on these trips, we can enjoy these hikes and we can see different things. Now, it's not to say that elevation didn't affect us. It for sure did a little bit. But to be able to complete over 4 miles of hiking up a mountain, right? And just on a whim, we decided to do it at breakfast one morning. I love that fact, right? That's why I'm so passionate about this, because when I'm in my 60s, 70s, 80s, I still want to be doing stuff like that. I still want to be enjoying the earth that God given us and really experiencing this life. I don't know about you. That's how I like spending my money, right? I like creating experiences with it. I like being able to be physical enough to, on a whim, maybe go whitewater rafting or hiking or whatever that might be, because I live a lifestyle to where, again, one of my goals every single year is to get into the best shape of my life. So we have to do that, right? Quality sleep, guys. If you're not sleeping, a trainer friend of mine, he sadly passed away, but a guy named Eric the Trainer, he was a celebrity trainer. And he told me one time, because I didn't sleep a lot. I'm one of those guys that go to bed about 1 o'clock in the morning. I wake up about 7:30. And he told me one time, he said, sleep is to the body what an oven is to cookie dough, right? That's where all the change happens. That's where all the repairs happen. That's when, as we get restored, that's when our cells are getting it's literally down to the cellular level where things are getting restored. And again, if you're not getting enough sleep, we know that's going to affect so many areas of our life. So good quality sleep, making sure that you make sleep a priority, which was a hard one for me because I've been an entrepreneur for a long time. And, I used to have that mentality, oh, you can sleep when you're dead, right? How many of us have ever said that in our life? I used to think that way. I used to get maybe 4 to 5 hours of sleep a night because I was so busy wrapped up in our businesses that we get to this point to where I wasn't getting the sleep that I needed. So it's a snowball effect that it goes into that next day. We'll wake up tired. We're not refreshed. We're not restored. And then what do we do typically, right? We look for some type of stimulants that we can go. So we stack our body full of stimulants, whether it's caffeine or whatever that might be all day. And then we try to go to sleep that next night. We put stimulants in our body our entire day. And then we're trying to go to sleep and our mind's racing. Everything's alert and we don't get another quality night of sleep. And then that snowball effect just keeps rolling and rolling and rolling. And so we want to get to this point to where we're making sure that when we're sleeping, and it's not necessarily the amount, but it's the quality of sleep, right? I got hooked onto a new product not too long ago that, man, I've been sleeping like a rock. I've been dreaming more than I can ever remember. And I'm waking up feeling good. Even if I'm only getting about 6 hours of sleep, I'm still feeling refreshed. I'm feeling good. So having that sleep, balanced nutrition, and that cardio, that strength aspect as we're going, because the role of preventative care and regular health metrics, right? Like tracking your stuff, really looking at it. If you've never honestly tracked your food, I encourage you to do it for a week. just really see what you're putting in your body, right? We know if it's not being tracked, it can't be improved. So whether that's going into your finances, your health, whatever that might be, if you really want to get an idea of where you're at, you have to track it. You have to look at it. My youngest son, he's into weightlifting. He has a goal to do a couple natural shows coming up in the year, but over this last year and a half, he's had tremendous gains in all of his weightlifting goals. He's been smashing all of his goals, but he tracks everything. He weighs his food. He really looks at what is he putting in his body so that it can perform like he's wanting it to do. And then it shows in the gym as he's hitting PR after PR after PR. We're getting to this point to where, because he's tracking it, he knows, what did I lift last week? Okay, here's my goal for this week. And so on and so forth. If he never tracked it, he'd be kind of going blind, right? He's kind of going lost. So again, having ability to track your fitness there's so many ways out there that you can track stuff. There's so many apps that make it super easy. I mean, even on our iPhones or our Apple Watches, right? It tracks your steps. It tracks all these metrics. How many of us are really looking at that and really seeing, what am I really doing throughout the day to enhance my physical longevity throughout my life? So again, I can live a younger life longer because I'm giving my body what it needs. And resistance training is so important, again, because it stresses the body. And so you do definitely want to start out with it slow, or even body weight movements are phenomenal. But getting to this point to where you can put these stresses on the body so it grows stronger. You know, most people know this, but if you're sore in a muscle group, it's because you literally tore that muscle. It has to grow back stronger, right? So as you tear those muscle fibers, then it starts growing back stronger. You're able to do more. You're able to lift more. You're able to do more physical activities, because what happens with most people that don't make this a priority in their lives, that's where it gets to this point to where, you know, they're bending down to pick up a box, and what happens, right? They throw out their back, or they pull something, or something happens. And so again, having that, so every day, you know, biohacks in today's world is a big term, but they're available everywhere, whether you're thinking about just hydration, right? Making sure you're drinking a gallon of water a day. Do you know the more water you drink, the less you retain, right? So if you have problem retaining water, drink more water. Our bodies are hyper efficient, right? And if it thinks it's short on something or needs something, it is going to do what it takes to make sure that you get what it needs. And if it feels like it's dehydrated anyway, it's going to hold water. You will retain water. If you want to retain less water, you got to get to this point where you're drinking more water. A good goal for everybody is a gallon a day. If that seems like a ton for you, get a half-gallon jug. Right. And there's all kind of jugs on the marketplace, right? It shows you like these timelines right throughout, where you can say, okay, by 11, I'm here. By 1 p.m., I'm here. By 3 p.m., I'm here. And just to track what you're doing. Because if you're just getting random glasses of water throughout the day, I guarantee you think you're drinking more water than you are. So hydration is a super big thing. Sunlight, guys, getting out in the sunlight. One of my biggest pet peeves ever during COVID was telling everyone to stay indoors and don't go outside, don't exercise, right? Our body naturally produces vitamin D. Most people are deficient in vitamin D, very deficient. It's a massive part of your immune system. I mean, it's a huge part of your immune system, the health of your immune system, getting enough vitamin D. Most people need to supplement that in as well. But, you know, if you get in the sunlight for 15 minutes a day, your body is naturally producing vitamin D. You don't want to be baking yourself into the sun, but you want to make sure that you're getting out in nature, getting out in sunlight. I guarantee if you start making, like, just going on walks maybe in the afternoon, but getting outside, getting some sunlight on your body, you know, and getting physical. I've never left a workout where I felt horrible. Like, I wish I didn't do that. Now, there's been multiple days where I've showed up thinking, I don't want to do this, right? Like, I do not feel like working out today. But you push through that mental barrier, you get to that point, and you always feel better. You always feel like you accomplished something. You always feel like you did something. Smart supplementation, right? There's so many things out there now. Now, I know there's a confusion in the marketplace. There's two major, like, what do I take, right? Where do I even go to start? Because there's whole stores of stuff out there. And it's like, I don't even know where to start. But once you make a decision, then how do I know it's working? And what I'm super excited about is one thing I got early access to is this little device right here that actually measures your antioxidant levels in your living tissue. So next year, this will be available to the public. It's super cool. because again, it's measuring tissue. So it's not, what are you consuming? It's what are you absorbing? And in the supplement world forever, it's been, trust me, take it, it's going to work. Well, now that we can provide measurement, what does that do? Now it gives you that access to where you can create different daily habits, right? You can make different nutritional habits, and your supplements are actually absorbing by the body, or being absorbed by the body, and not just kind of getting out there where you're passing a lot. And sadly, most people that are taking supplements, it's just passing through. I'll give you a quick testimony on that, because we did a big wellness event for about 500 teachers the other day. And a lady walked up and she had one of these vitamin patches. I never even seen one. She'd been buying it on Amazon for 2 years, right? She's wearing this patch for 2 years thinking she's getting vitamins. So we scanned her with this device right here. Now you want to be in the blue or purple. She was in the red. She barely registered. And so for 2 years, she's been wasting her money on patches that her body is not actually absorbing the nutrients. So she thinks she's getting what she needs, but at the end of the day, she's not, right? And that's the important part about smart supplementation. We're going into a realm of truly intelligent wellness. One of the businesses I'm affiliated with, that's where we're going with it. That's who's going to be launching this device right here. And I love it because now people are going to be able to do smart, intelligent supplementation to give their body, again, what it needs to perform like it should. So physical longevity is a huge piece. But another one I think is so important is our mental and emotional longevity. I was talking about this with a pastor friend of mine yesterday, and he's a little bit older than me. He's almost 70, but he said, we're as old as we think we are. And I joke with people all night. I'm 49. I feel like I'm in my 20s, and half the time my brain works like it's in my 20s, right? Like I don't feel 49 at all. But having a strong mental attitude towards things, and especially toward life, is so huge, because if you're going through life constantly thinking, man, life sucks, right? There's nothing good in the world, just a very pessimistic attitude about everything. What's going to happen? Right? It's going to affect almost all other areas of your life. But if you have a very optimistic, like I think the American dream's bigger than ever now. I think there's more opportunity than there's ever been on this earth. I'm excited about the future. Like these next 5 years, I have set some massive goals. That's going to be I'm it's hard to sleep. I'm so excited about that. So what does that do to every other aspect of your life if you wake up excited, or you wake up with the attitude of, who do I get to help today? Not what do I have to do. Now, when I used to work for AT&T, oh man, that was every day. Like, oh my gosh, I have to go to work today, right? Like that was my attitude constantly. I didn't enjoy it. It wasn't my dream. Like I was just grinding through life like a lot of people. And so when you look at life, like, if you approach life with what I get to do versus what I have to do, it's hugely different. I laugh with my wife all the time because sometimes she battles with knots in her back. And so I rub her back all the time. And she's constantly saying, oh, you don't have to do that. You don't have to. I said, I know, I get to. I have this beautiful wife. I get to, rub her neck to give her some relief. I love that. So having the attitude, I get to do that. It's not a burden. It's a pleasure. Like I get to do that. I mean, because the brain ages too, right? So cognitive reserve is built through lifelong learning and mental challenges. I think we should constantly be challenging ourselves. It goes into that physical realm where all the time I'm doing workouts. Like I've done workouts where I'm like, there's no way. Like these people are absolutely crazy. And then you do it. And then you prove to yourself, I can do this. Right. And so you're mentally stronger. You get to this point. I know, especially for me mentally, on some of these really long grinding workouts, you just kind of go to that dark spot in your head and you're like, I can do it. Or the first time I ever did a 10K, I didn't train for it. I'm not an active runner, but my whole mental side was one step in front of the other. Just keep moving. I almost was rehearsing like the Terminator, right? He just keeps coming. That's what I was thinking about, like all these things, or I just kind of keep going. And I didn't set any records by any means, but I was able to run the entire 10K without stopping because I just kind of got to this part mentally where you just keep going. Or one of the guys I listen to a lot is a Navy SEAL named Chad Wright. And he does these crazy ultra marathons and all these insane type races. And he was getting trained by another person. And he said, if his trainer was like, if I ever ask you how you're doing, you have one word: I'm outstanding. That's the only response. I'm outstanding. right? Because we don't get tired. We don't get tired. And he rehearsed this so much in his head that was his attitude, even though he looked like death on sometimes. If someone asked him how he's doing, he's like, man, I'm outstanding. I am outstanding. And they're looking at him like, dude, you're about to die. Like, what are you talking about? He's like, I'm outstanding. Right? Because we don't get tired. We don't get tired. We don't get tired. So how many times do you go through life and you're thinking that you can't do something? Right? Or you approach a new goal or a new dream and you're like, well, I'll try it, see what happens. Like, I've never met an entrepreneur ever that says, well, I'll try this and see what happens. They're like, we have to do it, right? Because normally they have so much on the line, they got to make it happen. But so many people go through stuff, they don't fully commit, they don't fully take responsibility, and they have this mental attitude, well, I'll try it, but I got this backup plan. So if I fail here, it really doesn't matter because I got this other job, or I got this backup plan, or I got this, that, or the other. And so they don't fully commit mentally. They don't fully commit. And then they get to this point to where if they don't see the results that they think they should see in the time frame that they set, that they have no reference on, right? Then it gets to this point, it's like, oh, it doesn't work. I quit. I'm not successful. I remember doing a coaching call with a girl one time, and I literally stopped her halfway through the call. And I said, can I tell you something real quick? And she goes, yeah. I said, if I were to talk to you like you're talking about yourself, you would think I was the biggest jerk in the world and hung up on me a long time ago. She goes, what do you mean? I was like, everything out of your mouth is how much of a fail you are, how you can't succeed at anything, how you're not good at anything, just all this negative garbage that she was telling herself. Right. And then you get to this point to where you start believing it. Your subconscious mind does not know the difference between fact or fiction. It doesn't. All it knows is what you're telling it. And they've actually done kinesiology studies where when people say, I can't do something, they're physically less strong. Right. And it's crazy. That's the power of our mind. So being able to age well mentally is huge, because I think that's what it's all about. I remember listening to an interview with Clint Eastwood one time, and he had just done one of his last movies, and the guy is getting up there. I don't remember how old he is, but he's getting up there, and he directed it. He acted in it. Like he was a huge part of this movie. And this interviewer said, man, how do you do it? Like, you're getting pretty up there in age. Like, how do you have the strength and the ability to do this? The mental cognition to do it. And he said, I just wake up every morning and decide I'm not going to let the old man in. I'm just not going to do it. All right, having those mental attitudes is massive. Stress management as an anti-aging strategy is massive. Stress, I mean, we've heard it a million times. You probably heard it ad nauseum, but it's the silent killer, right? There's so much things that stress puts on our body that we get to this point to where we don't even realize the damage it does. So finding a way to release the stress. For me, a lot of times it's in the gym. And if it's not in the gym, I enjoy like yard work. Like it's so mentally satisfying to me. And it's a way I can just let stress out. I'm physical. I'm doing good physical work, but you see that sense of accomplishment, and I just feel good afterwards. When I come home and if the yard's looking bad and I clean it up and it looks great, you're like, man, look at that. So simple little things, like find out. Some people, I love fishing too, right? Like I can just get out. I live 20 minutes from the water, right? Just get out and just be in nature and just decompress. So find whatever that is for you. Maybe it's meditation. I think meditation is a huge part of life. When you're looking at really meditating about your life and meditating about your goals and dreams and your wants and desires, that's a huge thing, right? Visually seeing what you want your future to look like is massive. And so getting to this point to where, we're able to just kind of meditate and decompress. Maybe it's yoga, maybe it's stuff like that, breath work, even journaling. Like it's amazing how journaling can really decompress you. And I encourage you, one thing, if you're not a big writer or journal, I encourage you maybe for 5 minutes a day, write down everything you're grateful for. We have so much to be grateful for. I mean, if we're walking around, we can breathe, we can eat, we can see, right? Like all these things that we take for granted every day. But living, I mean, gratitude is the miracle, right? It's one of those miracle solutions to so much, because when we really take stock of what we have, and again, I've been to a lot of countries around the world. I've seen complete and utter just devastation and poverty. And it's amazing when, I'll tell you, when I went on my first mission trip, it was in the year it was August of 2000. I'd recently given my life to the Lord. They're doing a mission trip down in Mexico. I went down there to help to drill some water wells. And at the time, me and my wife lived in this little apartment in North Beaumont. And we complained about the apartment all the time. Like it was nothing special. Like it was, it was a place to live, but there was nothing to write home about. I'll tell you that. And we used to complain about all the time. We spent a week down there in Mexico, in real Mexico, right? The real pueblos of Mexico. And, not Cancun, right? That's not, a good representation of what most Mexicans live. But we came back thanking God for that apartment. We had clean water, right? We could turn on the faucet and have clean water, right? Like that was something those people did not have. They had river water. And sadly, the further down river you were, the less clean it was, because everyone used the river for everything. I mean, for hygiene, for toilets, for washing their clothes, for everything. Right. And so, coming back and just being so grateful that we had clean water. We had access to clean water anytime we wanted it. We had a roof over our head. We had air conditioning. Right. So that's a great little hack to be able to get to a point mentally to where you're just grateful. You're living an attitude of gratitude, right? There's a reason that's a saying, because it's such an important part of your mental health, right? And mental health, I mean, how many people deal with anxiety, stresses, can't sleep, can't remember stuff, can't focus on anything, right? And those mental stressors they're killers, because they come at you all the time they're hitting you. And so being mentally flexible, right? Being able to adapt to situations and keep a growth mindset at any age. I think that's such a huge thing, because listen, life will come at you. I don't care what you do, what you say. There will be times you have very unexpected things happen. Again, I live on the coast of Texas. We get hit with hurricanes quite often. There's been times we have some big oil refineries pretty close to our house. We had one explode one day. It blew the windows out of our house, right? Like there's things that life are going to happen, or even deaths. A couple of weeks ago, my mom had a fall and she ended up passing away. And to be able to mentally adapt to some of that stuff and be able to take care of what's important, because there's a lot of things we can't do. It's what can you do, right? When we're going through COVID, there was a big part of our group and our team that was really kind of freaking out, because they're like, no one's going to work. No one's going to be needing, aesthetic or nutritional type products and things like this. And, and they didn't know how to adapt. They just never had been through anything. And I remember having calls with them and telling them, look, it's not what we can't do. We can't control what the government's doing or what local officials are doing. We can't control any of that. What can we do? We can still service our clients because we're already direct to consumer. We can help people that we're told they're not essential. We can show them how to still monetize their client list while they're at home, because they still have babies to feed. So how can we help and serve people? So it was a constant attitude of, what can I do? What can I do? What can I do to adapt to a situation? And honestly, that was one of the biggest growths in our business that we ever seen, because we had the attitude of, what can I do? We were able to mentally adapt to a situation we had no control over and pivot, right? And always have this growth mindset. Because if you look at your finances on a mental side and you think money's not disappearing out of the economy, it's traversing through it, right? It's transitioning normally from one market to another to another. Are you participating in the transfer of money that's going on in the marketplace? The old story of Netflix and Blockbuster is such a great case study for that. Blockbuster wasn't willing to adapt. Even though they got offered to buy Netflix, they thought it was crap, right? And they laughed them out of the room, didn't buy it. Right? What a mistake, right? They weren't willing to adapt to different things because their mindset was so just straightforward on this one business model that they couldn't see the future. They couldn't see what was going on, right? So they get to this point to where, because they didn't adapt, they ended up going out of business. So again, to be able to continually be able to adapt and to always have a growth mindset, it's amazing to me how many people get out of high school or college and never read a book again. Like, what? Like, I didn't go to college. It wasn't for me. I've always kind of had an entrepreneur mindset, and I was always willing to work really hard. And I did have a couple careers until I got fully into entrepreneurship. But I just got to this point to where I realize now, like, how little I knew at 18, 19, 20 years old. And so my wife and I are constantly reading. She's always in 3 or 4 books, right? But we're constantly reading, constantly growing, constantly stretching our mind, our beliefs, our vision for our lives to get to a point to where we're keeping our mind super young and getting there. So another big piece of that, guys, is going into the financial side. So, financially, honestly, longevity means you need resources to match a longer life. Right now, again, I kind of mentioned this in the first episode, but honestly, inflation doubles every 14.5 years on average. So let's just round that to 15 years, every 15 years. So basically, I'm almost 50. I plan on living well past 80, right? That's 30 years. So I need to prepare financially that the cost of living is going to quadruple by the time I'm 80 years old. Right now, how many people aren't even thinking that? Now, COVID, again, was a radical slap to the face to most people's financial situations, because most people, they're making really good money. But what happened when that income stopped? They're like, holy crap, right? Everything stopped, because they get to this point to where they realized that they were literally spending 100% of their money. They weren't saving, they weren't investing. Everything that they were making, yeah, they were paying the bills as long as there was no disruption. But as soon as there was disruption, even people I knew that was making 6 figures a year, they got to this point to where they're almost like, oh my gosh, like we're technically broke. Like we can't go a month. So that's a challenge I have for you. If you're watching this, I want you to think, okay, how long have I been doing what I'm doing? And what happens if I have to go 1 month without getting paid? What would life look like? That's something I really want you to think about, because if you've been doing the same thing, say for 10 years, and you can't go 1 month without getting paid, I'm telling you guys, the financial path you're on is not going to change. It's not just going to miraculously change. If anything, it's going to get worse, because cost of living is going to continue to get higher. And most of you guys with W-2 jobs are not going to get the raises to keep up with inflation, right? Some of you guys may be experiencing that now, especially over the last couple of years when inflation really spiked. At least it's down now, but when it really spiked, there were so many people that were like, man, I can't buy what I used to buy. We're going to have to cut back. We're going to have to do things. And so if you're at this point financially where you've been doing the same thing for 5, 10, 15, 20 years or more, and you can't go 1 month without getting paid, that's a problem. Right. And the sooner you recognize it, the sooner that you can fix that, so that you can, again, get the resource you need to live that longer life. Right. And I'm a big proponent of creating time freedom. Freedom's my favorite word. I love everything about freedom. Right. Like I love, that's probably why I'm an entrepreneur. And I was talking to a buddy of mine the other day, and I was like, man, if I ever had to go back to work, I would be a really horrible employee. Like I'm so physically or mentally unemployable. The thought of having a boss and someone telling me when I had to show up, what I could do during the day, when I could eat, when I could go to the bathroom, like all these things, it's like, no, I can't even imagine that life, because I've been fully on my own since 2008. But I wanted my time freedom. That's why I made this shift. Right? Because I recognized that I didn't just want to be a good financial provider for my family. Me and my wife, we have 3 boys. And when I made this shift into full-time entrepreneurship, I got to this point to where, I wanted to be a present dad as well as a financial provider, right? I knew I was a good provider. We're making good money, but I wanted to be present. Something to think about, like you have 18 summers with your kids, 18. When I had this realization, my oldest was 8. And I was like, man, if I don't make a shift, if I don't learn some way to create time freedom, if I don't create some kind of streams of income that's not tied to my hours worked, right? Like I wanted to create income that was uncoupled from me, right? So whether I showed up or not, cash flow was still coming in. Right? Residual leverage type money is what I was wanting to make, because I knew that if something ever happened to me, or if I couldn't perform, I couldn't work or whatever, I still wanted cash flow to be coming in. I still wanted income to be coming in. I didn't want all of my income streams completely tied to me or completely tied to hours worked, because if you're not working, you're not getting paid. And there's only so many hours in a day. There's only so much you can do. And that's where people get stuck in these traps where they're really looking at things and thinking, I'm never getting ahead. I can't work anymore. There's only so much overtime they even allow, blah, 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 like all this stuff, right? So getting and creating income streams that are not depending on you, right? Practical steps for that is really budgeting for the future. a good rule of thumb, this is something we've lived with for well over 25 years now, is anything that comes in, we always pay our 10% tithes and we always pay ourselves 10%, and we live off 80. Right now, there's been times in our life to where we gave our 10%, we saved 20%, lived off 70. Right. So you get to these points of where, you can budget for the future, because then you have the resources, because you've been paying yourself, you have the resources to then put into investments, whether it's stocks, bonds, gold, real estate, whatever that is, to be curating assets that are making money while you're not working. And that's super important. I mean, we were commercial real estate investors for a while, and we're actually looking for more right now, but we had sold off some when we were making some transitions in our life. But that was just cash flow that was coming in, regardless if I was doing anything. Right. So budgeting for the future, making sure that you're being very conscious of the fact that if you retire at 65 and you live to 80, what I just talked about, cost of living is going to double during retirement years. Most people don't downsize as they get old or as they retire because they want to. It's because they can't afford that lifestyle they used to afford. Because most people sadly retire on about 40% of their income. So you work your whole life for somebody else building their goals and dreams, and you retire on 40%. And then all of a sudden you don't have the time, or you don't have the time, you don't have the resources, you don't have the money to travel, to play, to do whatever you want to do with your life, or even just live comfortably. And so getting that, reducing financial stress is a perfect way to protect your mental and physical health. Guys, if you are in bad credit card debt, get out of it, right? Like, that's a huge thing. That's a huge financial stress for more people. Have you ever looked at a credit card statement and looked down and been like, oh, if I paid the minimum payment, it'd take me 30 years, right, to pay this off? I mean, those type of stresses, and those are self-inflicted, because we don't want to wait. We don't want to save till we actually can pay for it. We just want it now. It's a give me now mentality, right? Today's world, it's I want it. I want it. I want it. Right. But we have to get to this point to where that delayed gratification, because most of the time you realize you didn't even really need it, but yet you put it on some credit card. Or how many of you guys don't even budget for the future of, say, Christmas? And then all of a sudden you have to charge Christmas. And then it's a financial stress and a financial burden, a mental burden for the next 6, 7, 8, 9 months until you pay it off. Or some people never pay it off and then they add the next Christmas on it, right? They get it down a little bit, but got to do it again. And so finding ways to financially prepare for the future, so you have the resources you need during that to get to this point to where then you can really enjoy life as you get older. You don't have to cut back. You can really enjoy it. You can really have fun with it. One of my aunts, man, I jokingly talk about them all the time, because I'm like, where are you at now? Because they were so good during their working years, and they really prepared for the future. They have an RV and they're all over the place all the time. They're hardly never home, right? And so they're just enjoying life together and having fun, but they have the resources to do it, and they have the ability to pay for it, not charge it, right? Not put it on credit, but just pay for it and have fun and enjoy their later years in life. And that's what it's really all about. And then lastly, guys, I want to talk about kind of aesthetic longevity too, right? Because confidence and self-image that influence our overall well-being and social engagement. We all know, remember our teenage years, we had acne all over us. Like, we felt like we didn't want to do anything, right? We're like, oh my gosh, look at us, right? If you're getting out of the shower and you're looking at yourself and you're like, versus, hey, right? Like, it affects us so much. And again, I've never once met somebody that says, I want to get really stinking ugly as I get old. Right? We all want to age better. That's why, honestly, sadly, plastic surgeons and everything else are busier than ever, because the aesthetic, how we see ourselves, right? It affects us. And we should get to a point to where you truly love yourself. Now, you should look in the mirror and be able to look right in your eyes and say, I love you, right? Like, I really love you. Like, I love who you are and everything about it. But sometimes if like I said, if we're looking back at ourselves and aesthetically that we're like, oh man, there's some issues here, right? It affects us in so many ways, and it affects our self-confidence. It affects our social engagement, right? How many people are scared to go live online because they're worried about what they look like, or they think they have to be perfect, right? Or they think everything has to be in place. They don't just live an authentic life. They're living kind of a fake life on social media. But in reality, right, when they take everything off, right? They don't look like they want to. So, skincare and appearance it's honestly a part of our self-respect, and it's not a vanity way. I believe God created us, right? God says in the Bible, like we're all uniquely and magnificently made. We should all love what you see. You are a very unique creature. I mean, if you think about it, think about this. There's almost 8 billion people in the world. It might have surpassed 8 billion, right? And no one has your DNA. No one has your fingerprints. Like, that's how unique you are. 8 billion people and no one has your DNA and your fingerprints. Isn't that crazy? So you should love yourself, and you should want to take care of this vessel that you have, both outside in, inside out, right? We should want to do that. How you're feeling, like if you're feeling super vibrant on the outside, right, reinforces healthy habits on the inside. Right? It's such a symbiotic relationship between the two. Because again, think about, like, I honestly like what I see in a mirror. And so I think about, okay, I don't want to eat pizza 5 times a week. I don't want to eat a bunch of fast food all the time. I want to continue to enjoy, like, being in shape and being healthy and feeling good, but also looking good, right? And I joke with my wife all the time. We're going to be married 30 years next year. And she jokes with me about sometimes working out. I said, I want to stay looking good for you, babe. Like, I want you to, I don't want you to look at me and not be attracted to me. I don't want, why should I not care about how I look and just get overweight or whatever that might be and say, hey, baby, why don't you climb this tree? You know what I'm saying? Like, we want to get to a point where, like, I want to stay good looking for her. I want to be vibrant for her, but I also want to do it for myself because, again, you should love yourself. There's nothing wrong with loving yourself. And if you love yourself, if you truly love yourself, you want to take care of yourself. You want to get to a point to where, like I said, you just feel good, right? And you start making those different choices. And so, honestly, there's so many ways non-invasively now with new technologies and stuff. I happen to be affiliated with a company that has, like, honestly, the #1 skincare device in the world. It has been that way since 2016. It's non-invasive because most people nowadays, they don't want to get shots in the face. They don't want to get cut on. They don't want to have to go through these super invasive type procedures, but there's ways, again, to feed your body what it needs. So what's going on the inside will reflect on the outside, 100%. Have you ever seen a picture of identical twins where one smoked and one didn't? The way they aged is completely different. And you can see their skin, and they don't look the same. They don't age the same. Why? Because one person has been puffing all these cigarettes their whole life, right? Just filling their body full of all these toxins, and it shows outward. So typically what's going on the inside is going to reflect outside. So again, if you're going back to the nutritional side and you're feeding your body what it needs, it will reflect on your skin. You'll continue to have the elasticity, not the lines and wrinkles and all this kind of stuff. You'll age better, right? We'll live younger, longer, right? That's the whole point of this. So technology and science to help us, truly age gracefully, right? To age in a way that we're happy with. And again, not have to do invasive type procedures is huge. So again, guys, these 4 things that are I believe are critical. These are kind of the pillars of longevity: is your physicalness, right? Being physical, having that physical longevity to live the kind of life you want, having the energies, the stamina, the just all the good stuff, right? Even the libido, right? To be able to live younger, longer. So that physical side's huge, but also that mental and emotional side. Making sure that you're protecting your mind, you're protecting your brain. Most of us need to unplug from social media, honestly, because some of those deals that are out there, it's toxic. And this, if you go down one of those rabbit holes, you get off, you feel like garbage because you just allowed all this stuff into your brain, right? And you feel like garbage, or you're super stressed out even more than ever, right? Because you just read or saw all this just negative stuff. Right? Avoid negativity at all cost, right? Avoid it. I don't want to be around negative people, period. And I try to really protect myself against that. And then again, your financial longevity and then your aesthetic longevity is massive. So, we want to get to this point to where we're really getting through that. And I just want to encourage you guys to really identify what's your weakest pillar. Where are you struggling? So you might be in physical shape, but maybe mentally or financially you're struggling, right? So kind of identify that weakest pillar between those four. And let's start setting maybe some small actionable type goals just for the week. Again, if you're struggling, say with weight, start tracking your food. If you're struggling financially, track your finances. Like literally write down every expenditure you make. Because most of you guys aren't in a financial situation because you just make these huge, big purchases all the time. It's the $5, $10, $15, $20 purchases daily or weekly that just eat up all your money. And you're not really getting to this point to where you're able to save money because you don't even know where your money's going, right? You want to put a name to those dollars, right? So you know exactly where it's going and ultimately getting that money working for you. So I want to encourage you guys, like find out where's your weakest pillar and let's get over that, right? Like let's start setting some small goals in that weak area of your life to be able to start making a small improvement, small incremental changes so that next year looks nothing like this year, right? So let's start doing that. And I invite you guys, share your goals with the community group, put it in the comments, message me directly, any way that I can help you guys set some of these goals or to have some ideas of different ways to improve these areas of life. That's what I want to build this community for. That's my whole intention, that we build a whole community of people that want to live younger, longer in every aspect of their life. So we're just vibrantly living life out loud throughout our whole life, right? Until God takes us home. That's how I want to go out. Like I said in my first video, man, I want to go out like Elijah did. I joke about that all the time, but when I read that in the Bible, Elijah was going and then God called him up, right? It was his time. That's how I want to go out, living life loud, man, having a good time, really enjoying life, enjoying this earth, enjoying the people in this earth. Some of you guys, on that mental side, a big piece of why you're struggling mentally is you're just not around people. We are social creatures, right? We're meant to be around. That's why so much of the stuff around COVID was so mentally just devastating. So like just mentally devastating to people because they were isolated. They weren't around people, right? That's why I felt so bad for people in hospitals and nursing homes where they couldn't see visitors. I know what that did mentally to them. And it was such a sad state, right? It was almost evil in a way to isolate people in that sense, especially people that are already struggling. We're meant to be around people, and I can't tell you what that does mentally. Do you know if you hug somebody for over 5 seconds, like your heartbeats can literally start to sink? That's how important it is to be around people, right? To not forsake the assembly together. You want to be around people. It helps you so much. So again, I'd love to hear your goals, whether you want to email me, whether you want to put it in the comments. I'd love to hear it. But I hope this was of value, guys. I can't wait for next week, and we'll talk to you next time. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.